Okay, everyone, if we can take our seats, silence our cell phones, we're about to get started. Alrighty. Good evening, everyone. We are on the record. Today is Tuesday, the 6th day of September in the year 2022. This is the City Council Caucus meeting of the Jersey City Municipal Council. We had a scheduled 4 p.m. start. The clock on my cell phone is showing 4:04 p.m. May we have a roll call for the commencement of this caucus? Councilperson Ridley. Councilperson Prinzeri.
Here.
Councilperson Baggiano. Councilperson Soleil.
Absent.
Here. Councilperson Solomon.
Here.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Present.
Councilperson DeGise, not here yet. Councilperson Rivera is not here. And Council President Waterman.
Here.
Okay, we have 7 members in attendance. 7 council members in attendance at 4:04 p.m. On behalf of Council President Waterman, in accordance with New Jersey Public Laws of 1975, Chapter 231, the Open Public Meetings Act, also known as the Sunshine Law, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by the posting on the bulletin board of the first floor of City Hall, the annual notice, which is the schedule of meetings and caucuses of the Municipal Council for the calendar year 2022, and filed in the office of the City Clerk on Thursday, October 28, 2021. In addition, at its time for its preparation, the agenda of this meeting was similarly disseminated on Friday, September 2nd, 2022 at 12:10 p.m. to the Municipal Council, Mayor, Business Administrator, Corporation Council, and the local newspapers, and posted on the city's website, so I can certify as to our total compliance with the Sunshine Law. Please be advised that we are now live streaming all City Council caucuses and meetings through Microsoft Teams. The links are located on the website and also on your agenda. With that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Council President Waterman.
Good afternoon. Well, the first one would be Director Shea.
Good evening, Council President, council members. The Department of Public Safety only has one resolution this year. It's this meeting. It's agenda number 10.20, resolution authorizing the payment of a claim submitted by Tomahawk Defense LLC for providing sustainment training for ESU to the Department of Public Safety. This is a claim for training that already occurred November 1st, 2021 to November 5th, 2021 of about 40 Jersey City ESU officers doing a 5-day sustainment training. Why this is here, this requisition went in July 2021 from my office. Why it's back as a claim, I don't know. But we submitted it as a requisition about 4 months before the training in July 2021. This is the training we do twice a year for the last 9 years, every single year. It's 5 days. It's an extensive training for our emergency service officers and how to respond to critical incidents. Each one builds on the other. It's paid for by the federal government out of the federal funds, but we always bring it here anyway.
Sure. Can the administration clarify as to why it's a claim?
Get that answer to you by
Wednesday.
by Thursday morning.
Thursday, yeah.
Typically, when this happens, my microphone got good. Typically, when this happens, the amount surpassed the requisition amount, so it'd be carried over as a claim. But I'll verify that with finance before we vote on it.
And then, Director, this is from the civil forfeiture funds, or is this that?
Not civil forfeiture. It's the federal government. We participate in the Drug Enforcement Task Force.
Got it.
And as a result, they make funds available, but they have to approve the use.
Got it.
Those funds, Jersey City, we additionally require you to approve the use also before we spend them. It's never been used since I've been here on anything except cameras and training.
Got it. Thank you.
Questions? Thank you, Director.
Thank you, council members, council president.
Director Kears?
Evening, President Waterman, members of the council. I have two items before you for the approval. Resolution 22-655, 10-21. Resolution will authorize an extension of contract with Tilcon New York Incorporated to provide various asphalt materials for the Division of Buildings and Streets. Total amount of the contract is $184,788. Obviously, this is used for potholes and any road issues, improvement made that we have to do.
Any questions?
Second resolution is 22-656, 10.22. This resolution will authorize award of a contract to Robert H. Hoover and Sons for the purchase and delivery of 2 passenger buses through the Sourcewell Purchasing Cooperative to provide senior citizen transportation. Total amount of the contract is $255,178.
So, Director, this may not be for you. I don't know if any of the health department folks can speak to this, but we're purchasing these for senior affairs. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Got it. And how many, what's the capacity of each bus?
I believe they're 30 passenger buses.
30 passenger buses. And right now, do we have the capacity and staffing? You know, when will these buses basically be available for use?
Unfortunately, right now, we're looking 6 to 8 months out.
So we won't get them for 6 to 8
Right.
months. Yeah. And then once they're here, do we have the staffing to drive them? Like, are they going to be, 8 to 4?
No, it'll be out of, I can't answer that, Councilman. I would say that would come out of Director Flanagan's house.
Sure. Could Margaret or Paul, sorry to bother you guys, do you guys know what the staffing, when we buy the senior affairs buses, or if we buy the senior affairs buses, could we ask the health department to let us know what the hours of operation would be when they arrive? Thank you, Margaret. I appreciate that. I know you got your hands full. I understand.
Any questions? Anyone else? Thank you, Director.
Thank you.
Okay, Margaret.
Hi.
Hi,
Let me
Margaret.
just write that down really quick before I forget. So that was for the buses, the senior affairs buses. We just want to know.
Once we receive them, when will they be available for use? Is it so we have the staffing, are they going to be 8 to 4, or is there some other, use intended for them?
I don't know, but I will get that answer.
Thanks.
All right. So I'm talking into the microphone.
Okay.
Amelia's here. Hi. Okay, so the first item that I have to present today is an ordinance. It's on second reading, so we've already discussed this one. This is to create a new division within the department. It's the Division of Community Relations and Social Services.
Come closer to your mic.
Just bring the mic
We
down.
can't hear you.
I'm sorry.
There you go.
So this is Ordinance 073, and it's to create a new division within the Health Department, the Division of Community Relations and Social Services. And it's
It's
on.
item 4.6 on your agenda, council members.
Reading, Rich.
And so moving on to resolutions, I have 4 items that are on the agenda. The first one is 22-649, item 1015. This is an agreement with LEW Corporation to conduct lead remediation at 213 Harrison Avenue. And this is, it shouldn't say clinical services. We're going to have to fix that. This is the Division of Environmental Health, and this is being funded through a grant to do lead remediation from the State Department of Community Affairs.
Any questions? Next one, Margaret.
All right, the next item is 1016, Resolution 22-650. It is authorizing the payment of a claim for air brake and equipment for the rental of refrigerated trucks for Meals on Wheels.
Go ahead.
Right. The next item.
Wait a minute, wait a
Sorry.
minute. Somebody have.
The Meals on Wheels, it's 4 trucks that were ridden.
Yes.
Now because when I was working Meals on Wheels, I'm assuming this is something new because we were using, it looks like DPW vehicles.
Right. So we had been using DPW vehicles. It's my understanding that, or I don't know, when did you stop working with Meals on Wheels? Was it
It was
pre?
during the pandemic, so it was like probably about 2 years or so ago.
Is that the additional help?
Right.
So I'm trying to figure out These trucks were just rentals, the four was just rentals?
Right, so we are still using DPW trucks to do Meals on Wheels rentals, but during the pandemic, our participation in Meals on Wheels increased more than 200%, and we just didn't have the capacity to get the meals out to everybody that needed them. So we had a contract with this vendor last year, and it was paid out of our money. At the beginning of this year, we sought to enter into a contract with them for the full calendar year, and at the beginning of the year, I was working with the vendor to get that done. And then they stopped communicating with us completely, but we still had their rental trucks. In July, the vendor reached back out and said that their accounting person had been out sick, but they were back and they were ready to continue working on this. And I said, well, in the meantime, we have 6 months of invoices from you guys that we'd like to pay. So we're going to pay this as a claim. And on the next council agenda, we're going to have a contract for them to close out the year so we can continue the services. But that's what happened there. It's been a struggle with them. And then they needed new compliance paperwork, and it was a lot of red tape, but we're happy that we're finally going to be able to settle this with them because they've been very helpful to us.
More questions? Next one, Margaret.
Regarding, I was gonna say regarding the ordinance, how do you think it's going to improve health and human services, the communication? So right now I know that Marianne Keller is she does a lot of the communications on Facebook and Instagram, but I'm just wondering how would it improve it in your eyes?
Well, I don't think it's going to improve it right now. Like when it goes into effect in 20 days or 20 days after the adoption of the ordinance, we plan on appointing Marianne as the director of this division. She's going to have the same staff. So this is just codifying it. And what our hope is that at some point way further down the road, when Marianne's no longer with the city, we'll be able to continue having this as a codified part of the health department so that we can make sure that communications are happening in an official way through the department so that our message is getting out there. So that's really the purpose of this, is just to sort of establish that this is an official component of the work that we do.
I agree. It's, after the pandemic, I think it really is incumbent upon us to create that division solely for communication. So, and she did a fantastic job as well.
Mary Ann is one of the best.
Next one, Margaret.
Okay. More items on here. The next item is a resolution, it's 10.17, resolution 22651, authorizing an agreement with Njcu for the education of, their health education students are going to be doing internships with our Division of Community Health and Wellness. So this is just something authorizing that partnership to take place.
Okay.
Any questions? Next one, Margaret.
The final item is another claim, 10.18, 22-652, authorizing the payment of a claim submitted by Santa Fe Pasteur for supplying the city clinic with flu vaccines. This purchase was made when I was on maternity leave last November. So when I got back in January, there was a $27,000 invoice on my desk. I said, where's the resolution for this? And there wasn't one. And then we've been hounding this vendor for their compliance paperwork literally all year, and we just got it in time for it to make the agenda for this meeting. So that's why it took so long. We knew we had to pay this bill. We've been working on it, and we finally had everything we needed as of about 2 weeks ago.
Can I ask, so obviously you were out, but I guess why wasn't a resolution submitted for this vendor?
I wish I had an answer for that. I don't know what took place. I don't know who called and said, place this order. Certainly wasn't the director. You would not do that without a PO. She knows the rules. So I don't know who did this. We just know we need to pay them.
And how many flu vaccines did we give out last year?
I don't know. I'll have to get back to you on that.
Okay. Have we purchased flu vaccines in the past, or was this the first year we did it?
No, we've purchased flu vaccines from this vendor every year, and we usually purchase an amount that comes to between $14,000 and $16,000, which isn't enough to need a resolution.
Sure.
This was an extra order of flu vaccines because we anticipated an increased uptake in flu vaccination in accordance with the pandemic. There was a huge spike in cases at the time. So we were encouraging people to get vaccinated for both COVID and the flu because we don't need two respiratory viruses infecting people simultaneously.
Right.
So this was a contingency just to try to get as many people vaccinated as possible. I don't know how many of them we use. So, but we definitely have that information. I just don't know off the top of my head.
Great, thank you.
Who typically fills in when you're out? Is there an org chart?
So I'm in the fiscal, well, at the time I was in the fiscal office, and the fiscal office is me and 2 other HHS employees and the fiscal officer who's assigned to us through the Department of Finance. So I had assigned my duties that I would normally do day to day to each of those 3 people. And the person who had been the fiscal officer for HHS is no longer with the city for items including non-payment of vendors. So I suspect this might have fallen on her plate. But yeah.
More questions? All right, thank you, Margaret.
Margaret,
There were 2 other items that we had tried to get on the agenda, but I don't know. John, do you know? Okay,
No, they're not here.
so that was a no. Okay.
Thank you, Margaret.
I think it's 1019.
So that one, this one's news to me too. I won't be able to answer any questions about it, but I can take your questions and bring them back to the department. This is an item that I just discovered was on the agenda when I printed the agenda earlier today. And in iCompass, it let me know that Jeremy Jacobson from the law department submitted this, and then Director Flanagan herself approved it. But I don't think Maury Thomas isn't here. He's the one in the department who's tasked with running the Air Farms program, but this item 1019 is a resolution authorizing a collaboration agreement between the city and the
Right.
medical center or appropriate
Air Farm.
affiliate entity at which Jersey City residents can receive fresh produce and diagnostic services. So this sounds like it's part of the Air Farms program, but again, this is something that I wasn't aware of. I don't know when it was submitted. So any questions about it, I'm happy to take, and I will give them to our Healthy Food Access Coordination team and get those answers for you.
Peter, do you know anything about this?
I can circle back with Jeremy and see if there was anything. I know there were some, I don't want to say it was the last minute, but there were some things that were being done on Friday. I can get informed on that and I can let the council know before the vote on Thursday.
Okay, before we vote, anybody have any questions?
Margaret, you going to introduce your daughter to the rest of the council?
This is Amelia. She's 5. She'll be 6 in November. She's starting kindergarten in 2 days, and she had a choice not to be here, but she chose to be here. She really wanted to come to Caucus to see your aid, Rich.
No, I remember the day she was born.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, she's a regular around these parts.
I can't believe how big she got already. I remember buying her first drum set.
Yeah. Her little brother's a percussionist too.
Oh, there you go.
All right.
Thanks a lot, Margaret.
Before we move on, Council President, I just want to mark Councilperson DeGise present at 4:12 p.m. So we now have 8 council members at 4:12 p.m. Thanks.
Thank you. Tanya. And Matt.
We have 2 items on, 3.1 and 3.5. I'm going to briefly go through 3.1 for you. It's really just a signage change to the Journal Square requirements. Currently, signage between Connolly and, let me just make sure I have the right block that, and Van Ripen have no signage requirements, no size, lighting. And so we are changing that, and we're matching the signage requirements for that area with the rest of the plan. And we are also requiring signage now to come as a minor site plan before the planning board for approval, which prior to that, it was not. As you know, Council President, our chair is very keen to have that continue to happen for signage reviews. It's a very light and simple. So if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. But that's really the nuts and bolts of it.
Tanya, you went through this very thoroughly with Peter Horton and myself, and we all agree with it.
Perfect. So
The signage.
3.5, Yes? No? Okay.
Everybody's clear on 3.1? Okay, I want to make sure we clear on that one, Tanya. 3.1. Okay, the next one, go ahead.
So, 3.5, I guess to clear up some confusion. The master plan was approved early 2022. It is extensive, it's comprehensive, it's a lot. And the best way that we saw to do it was to do it in pieces. And part of the reason we wanted to do it in pieces is so that it was digestible, and we could be as transparent as possible. Zoning is my second love, third love, I don't know what it is. But it's not everybody's love, and it's very boring and technical. And so we are really kind of trying our best to make sure that the zoning can be interpreted by any layperson who lives anywhere in Jersey City, and they can know what we're bringing forward to them, what the changes are, and what's happening within their zoning policy. Phase 1, which is what's before you tonight, were the lots and the sites that we thought were the easiest to get off the table, right? Everybody, since I've been here for 15 years, everybody will tell you the biggest problem in Jersey City is the R1, 1 and 2 family housing. We don't even have to go into what the problems are, just that most of our problems are centered around them. Unless you're Councilman Bogiano, and then everything is just in Journal Square. But in order to have a really kind of focused conversation on the R1, we pulled out the pieces from the R1 that were definitely not R1. And some of those, if you can kind of conjure up some pictures of what I'm thinking of, right? And they're all within the presentation and the documents before you. You know, Old Bergen, Danforth Avenue right at Ferris Triangle, Mallory Avenue, northern parts of Summit, even lower parts of Palisade. These are areas that have commercial centers to them. As you know, Jersey City is a mix of a bunch of communities that came together, and they all had their original commercial centers. And that's really how those buildings were built, and how those commercial corridors were established. If you would do me the kindness, I do want to read something to you. I know that you guys are incredibly busy and you're just after a Labor Day weekend, but would you be patient and bear with me while I read you something?
Absolutely.
Fantastic. I'm going to read you a paragraph out of the book of The Color of Law.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Go ahead.
Perfect. De facto segregation, we tell ourselves, has various causes. When African Americans moved into a neighborhood like Ferguson, not Jersey City, but you know what there is, you know where that is, a few racially prejudiced white families decided to leave. And then as the number of black families grew, the family neighborhood deteriorated and white flight followed. Real estate agents steered whites away from black neighborhoods. Banks discriminated with redlining, and as a result, many remained concentrated in urban neighborhoods. Besides, black families prefer to live with one another. All of this has some truth, but it remains a small part of the truth, submerged by a far more important one. Until the last quarter of the 20th century, racially explicit policies of federal, state, and local governments defined where whites and African Americans should live. Today's racial segregation in the North, South, Midwest, and West is not the unintended consequences of individual choices and of otherwise well-meaning law or regulation, but of unhidden public policy that explicitly segregated every metropolitan area in the United States. The policy was so systematic and forceful that its effects endured to the present time. Without our government's purposeful imposition of racial segregation, private prejudice, white flight, real estate steering, bank redlining, income differences, and self-segregation, still would have existed, but with far less opportunity. Segregation by intentional government action is not de facto. Rather, it is what our courts call de jure, segregation by law and public policy. The 1966 Jersey City Master Plan. I'm going to read you pieces of this. Between 1950 and 1960, a number of factors can be singled out to account for the pronounced movement of young, non-white, and individuals into Jersey City and the movement of middle-aged white families and individuals out of Jersey City. These factors can be summarized as follows. Movement in, anticipation of better job opportunities, presence of friends and relatives in Jersey City, accessibility to Jersey City, Manhattan, and other employment centers. Those are some of the things you hear today, right, for people who are moving into Jersey City. One of the other reasons for moving in was adverse pressures and tensions resulting from civil rights activities in the South. Movement out. What were the reasons for the movement out? This is in our master plan. This is not an article that I had found online. Movement out. Inadequate housing available for expanding family needs. Availability of new housing in suburban areas with a ready supply of inexpensive mortgage money. Dissatisfaction with local school systems. Expansion of job opportunities in suburban areas with reasonably coupled accessible to jobs in the core area of the region. And the final, which I always find some striking, reaction of the increasing size of minority groups in Jersey City. In the peak of the 1960s, urban renewal displaced a minimum of 50,000 families annually. In Jersey City, urban renewal has a two kind of story. It's not necessarily the story that you see in Chicago with large high-rise buildings, although we do have some. Our urban renewal in Jersey City was much smaller, on a smaller scale and systematic, and mainly done through what today we call redevelopment. I'm not saying redevelopment is bad, but was then called urban renewal. And we lost through urban renewal and through intentional decisions to reduce our commercial corridors, we lost neighborhoods, entire commercial neighborhoods. I think if you drive up from the hub down to here and you take Ocean Avenue, there's no better picture to show you where that's true. And I can show you that the tax records from the 1930s show a vibrant commercial corridor. Why do I say all of these things? I say all of these things because in moving forward with the RC1 changes, that is exactly what we are doing. We are doing corrective zoning for about 30 to 50 years of unzoning. The most population Jersey City has ever had was in the 1930s. It is only today, recently, that we are there. That's about 70 years. It took us 70 years of disinvestment and recuperating from disinvestment in order to be back at the population that we were in the 1930s. Now, the zoning, not to get to the more technical bones of things, right? If you're looking at our zoning ordinance, it's R1, 2, 3, 4, 5, R2D, R1A, R1F, NC, and it gets a little confusing. And in order to remove that confusion and to provide a document that makes sense logically, we did a restructuring. And so part of what you're seeing is that we are kind of canceling out the entire zoning LDO and replacing it. And we're not replacing it with a whole set of new things. We're replacing with a table of contents that introduces the new zones that we have before you today. That's the RC1. RC1, what is RC1? Residential, commercial, 1. And logically, it means the lowest density, lowest height. RC2, probably just a little bit higher density, a little bit higher height. RC2 will take the place of R2D. And even though it happens to be the most awesome name that we have ever zoned any zoning, however, it doesn't make as much sense. And we would like to at some point recognize that the pattern of R2D exists in other places that are not within Ward D. RC3, which is the R5 zoning in the village downtown. Again, it's kind of an anomaly. Why is it R5 zoning when it's actually one of the lowest heights within the R zoning standard districts? So that's the first thing that we did. The RC1 brings in 55 units an acre, ground floor commercial, and then again, it can gentle density upwards to the RC3, where you have the 80 units an acre. I know that that is a little bit too confusing, but if you're thinking of 80 units an acre on a regular size lot, you're looking at 4 units. And that's what's actually pretty common within the village area. Another part to this conversation is not that myself and Matt and my staff all went out and we decided what's best for everybody. We went out and we looked at every single lot within these areas that we knew were an anomaly to the R1. We did a density and a height analysis and a lot width analysis of every single one of them. And what's before you today, when I use the word corrective zoning, meaning that the zoning before you is very accurate to what is there. And you know, the kind of the better things that are able to happen because of this, a ground floor commercial store that maybe yesterday would have had some regulation problems with being able to improve their storefront will no longer have that problem because now they will be a permitted use. There's a myriad of things that we've talked about, and I know, and thank you again for being patient and giving me this time. The presentation is within the portal. We had a meeting separately with you guys. We don't really know how much you want us to go further into the weeds of everything. We did do changes to definitions. We did some changes to lot standards. And we did a lot of them that were based purely on the master plan recommendations. We did them in concert with what a lot of other cities within our areas are and have been doing for many years. And to make, I think, more logical buildings and to make buildings that are not really, I think we're kind of responding to some variance applications and realizing that there's a better way than having everything come to a board and asking for a variance. Great example of that, and this is just one, right? One of the rear yard setback. Instead of doing it as a hard number, we're doing it as a percentage. Historically, that's actually what it used to be. And the hard number is difficult because not every lot size in Jersey City is the same. Sure, we have a lot of 20, 25 feet wide. We have a lot of shallow lots. And so that makes it difficult, and it just makes somebody come to the board, and it makes it more difficult to put an addition to their home, maybe help them live there a little bit longer with their family. That's my part. Matt is the brains. So there's a lot of there are a lot of there's 260 pages within your ordinance. We want to answer all of the questions that you have, to be responsive to all of the constituents that have reached out to you. I'm positive, as a just to kind of come back a little bit, we have had multiple community meetings over many months. I have had walking tours with the council people and their constituents in the areas that we're targeting for the RC communities. And then we've had follow-up community meetings after some communities have met with us. That's all I have. And again, if you want Matt to come up and talk about things more detailed, we're more than happy to do that.
Thank you, Tanya. Any questions?
Director, why is it important to have commercial storefronts on the ground floor in the, the R2 areas? Like, I know you linked it to the, I guess, the plans of the past and how there was racism and redlining involved. And basically the government picking economic winners and losers, but what would the benefit be to the neighborhood to have the R2C?
So within the master plan, we had objectives and goals, right? And one of the objectives was to create this 15-minute city. And in order for, I'm sure all of you realize that, to get from one point to the city to another point to the city, because I have to do my grocery shopping here, I have to go pick up something here, I have to, go to an insurance agent down there, to an office that's over here. The goal is really to provide those 15-minute cities so that I would say the assets, the essentials that a community would need in order to access them easily without having either to get into a car or to put two kids in a car or to figure out how to Uber it, would be more available to that. And the main way we can do that is to provide use flexibility on these existing historical commercial corridors.
Thank you.
Tanya, Lee. I'm reading The Color of Law now, so that's a very good book, and I'm learning a whole lot of what you just said, so.
That's good. Go ahead, Jane.
Just one question. I know you and I had an email exchange with some concerns that were raised by residents. And since you're doing these in two sections, you have the community meetings around the R1. So can you just, as briefly as possible, just sort of explain why it's important to separate those two out and how it might impact the different neighborhoods?
So starting on Thursday night, we will have our first community meeting. It is our first of 7. Tomorrow night. It's tomorrow night. I'm glad that Matt knows, and at least one of us knows. We'll have 3 actual in-person meetings, presentation style, charrette style, to go through all the changes, and then we will have 4 walking tour meetings. My guess is, as always, in between all of them, we will have side meetings with different folks. Those meetings will focus on the R1, period. Is that what you were looking for, or no?
Yes, thank you.
I can spice it up.
I just want to make sure that residents are clear that this is not comprehensive R1.
No, we expect.
And that they're specific to certain corridors and not the entirety of a ward.
Correct. We expect for at least the next 2 months to focus purely on community engagement and with the R1 changes.
All right, just a very basic question. Is there a map of the areas that are being rezoned in this specific rezoning?
Yes.
Do you know where it is? And it's, sorry, in the large document?
Definitely, at least in one of the PowerPoints, but yes, because as a part of the ordinance, a map has to be adopted. There is a zoning map that becomes adopted as a part of the ordinance. Are you looking for the exact?
I don't have the copy of the ordinance on my computer. I'll try to get you the reference to the map.
Okay.
There should have been 2 maps. One that just highlights the changes. What
Bring the mic up a little bit.
Yeah.
It's what they were zoned previously. And then another map that shows how the zoning map will be adopted should this ordinance pass. So one, again, shows the summary of the changes, and the other one will show how the zoning map will look.
So you send it out to us, Matt?
Yeah, it should be in the packet, but I'll make sure, and I'll give you the citation for the page number.
Anyone else?
I just one other question. Matt, there are 2 maps at the very end of the packet, but maybe offline I can just have you, I'll call you maybe this week just to make sure I understand the map. I was having a little confusion with it as what's being done. But the second question is, do these changes, change any of the eligibility for where cannabis dispensaries could open?
We were sensitive to the communities that where the RC1 changes were being made. And some communities requested that it not be permitted. Leave the RC3 requested that it not be permitted, and the RC1 requested it not be permitted. It's already permitted in the R2D, so it will continue to be permitted in the RC2.
Okay, okay. Thanks.
Anyone else? Anyone else? Okay, thank you, Tanya.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Dinah?
Hi, good afternoon. This is the second reading of Ordinance 22072. It involves revisions to the foreclosure registry. And I explained the reason why we needed to do this per a recent state law. If you've had a chance to review it and you have questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Questions, this is the second reading, guys.
You said 4.2, right?
072.
4.5.
4.5 on the calendar.
The second.
Matt, when you leave, would you mind closing the back door for me? Thank you.
I don't believe there's no questions, Dinah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Agnes?
Good afternoon, council members. I'm Agnes Theodosio. I'm the program director at Community Development, and I have 4 resolutions to present to you today. On the agenda, item number 1012, a resolution number 22-646.
Okay, go ahead, Agnes. Read it and explain it. You could read it and explain it.
Okay.
That one. Do one
So,
at a time.
City of Jersey City Division of Community Development is requesting approval from the City of Jersey City Municipal Council to utilize Cdbg Public Facilities Funds in amount of $314,933 to acquire and renovate 512 Ocean Avenue, the commercial space on the first floor. This is for Angela Cares. This is a nonprofit community based in Jersey City that provides support to social services support, food, and other basic needs, resources for seniors and families in Jersey City. They've been doing that for past 11 years or so.
Questions?
This is the actual acquisition, right?
Yes, this is acquisitions and soft costs. So they're going to acquire the unit and they're going to do a build out. I've inspected the property myself.
And it's just that commercial area, right? The bottom.
No, it's actually the whole building. It's a mixed use building. On the bottom, it's a commercial unit, which Angela Cares is trying to acquire and build out for their needs. And on top, there are condos, 2 condos that are also going to be affordable.
2 condos, you said?
Condos, yes.
Okay.
It's on Ocean Avenue.
No, I know where it is.
Yeah.
Okay, Agnes, next one.
Okay, next resolution, agenda number 1010, resolution 22-644. City of Jersey City Division of Community Development is requesting City of Jersey City's Municipal Council to approve award for Cdbg PF funds for $18,950 for Greater Bergen Community Action. It's for the roof. The roof at this facility is in disrepair and it's over 25 years old. The Greater Bergen Community Action is a nonprofit in Jersey City, and they provide a range of programs, including childhood development for children of low-income persons. I inspected the roof myself. It's dilapidating. The ceiling basically is falling down on the some of the office workers' heads. So we really need to get this done for them. And it's not actually, they had 3 bids and this was quite low bids. I thought was pretty low for what it needs to be done. And it's ready to go. Any questions?
Nope.
Okay. Next one. My next resolution on agenda is 10.7, resolution 22-641. Jersey City Municipal, this is a request for Jersey City Municipal Council to approve to utilize Affordable Housing Trust Fund for newly constructed mixed-use building, which includes 4 affordable rental units for households at or below 30 AMI and 2 affordable units at or below 60 AMI. This is for Team Walker. This request was approved in January of this year by our AHTF committee, and the property address is on 379 Community Paul Avenue, and the request is for $800,000. And they have, this is gap funding. Obviously, they have other funding sources by Investors Bank and the bridge loan, also by Investors Bank, which is the requirement of Affordable Housing Trust, and they comply with this requirement.
Question?
Okay, thank you. And my last resolution, agenda number 1013, resolution 22-647. This is for acquisition funds for 450 MLK Drive. It's for Webb Apartments. This is for Jersey City Housing Authority. And we're requesting $215,000 in AHTF funds to enable JCHA to acquire this property. What JCHA is planning to do to maintain the 10 fixed home units for the remaining of the home mortgage compliance period. And upon expiration of the compliance period, they are going to switch them to federally assisted affordable housing into perpetuity, which is really beneficial for them. So those units, all of them will be affordable housing units. And the acquisition funds are for $215,000. This is from a Genesis MLK Partners. Previously, we funded them with home funds, and I guess they're not doing the right job, I shall say, and JCHA will renovate it as well using their own funds and other federal funds. So again, we're providing gap funding. It has been approved by a HTF committee, review committee.
Yes, just so the record reflect, this company, oh my God, trying to put it nicely, they're horrible at maintenance, the upkeeping of this building, the security of this building.
You're referring to Genesis, correct?
Everything.
Yes. This is a great opportunity. You're absolutely right. This is a great opportunity for JCHA to take over this building to keep those units affordable, and that's what they're trying to do. And we are quite happy that they're doing it, frankly.
Okay. Thanks, Glenn.
Any questions? Thank you so much.
Susan?
Good afternoon, Council.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I have 3 resolutions in front of you today. 2 were discharges, and on your agenda item, it's 10.8 and 10.9, resolution 642, and resolution 22-643. In addition, I have agenda item 1011, resolution 22-645, which is authorizing an amendment to an existing subrecipient agreement.
Read the first one, Susan.
Yes, ma'am. The Division of Community Development is requesting approval of discharge of mortgage for the property subject to the municipal subsidy under Choice Program Guideline for John and Elba Cianciarelli, who purchased a condo from the original developer who was granted a subsidy. This was done in December 22nd of 2010. They are now at a point where they've satisfied the commitment to their mortgage and they're ready to sell. And as part of that, they're going to basically provide back to, because the choice funding is a recapture fund as part of the emerging markets program. And they're going to pay back to the city of Jersey $83,333.33. Then, in addition, the new owner is going to sign a mortgage commitment of $42,000. That will be forgiven if she stays in the property or inhabits the property 60 days, within 60 days of acquisition, and stays in the property for 1 year, a period of 1 year. And that commitment is for $42,926.81. Any questions?
Next one, Susan.
Thank you. The next discharge is basically part of our Golden Neighborhoods program. The borrower, Ms. Rodriguez, borrowed $25,000 from the city of Jersey to purchase her home located at 145 Woodlawn Avenue, Jersey City. It was a second repayment mortgage dated April 21, 2005. She satisfied her term of commitment and is basically ready to sell. And so we're requesting the discharge of that mortgage. Simple enough. Any questions? Okay. The next agenda item is the 10.11 Resolution 22-645, which is an amendment to a contract that we have with, or subrecipient agreement with the waterfront project. Basically, we're requesting an additional $100,000 to grant to the waterfront project through our COVID funds, because they've acquired additional clients and they need more funding to support that additional burden. In addition, we want to, because of the burden from COVID, we want to extend their contract. And this is basically what the request is for this amendment and agreement.
Do you have a number how many people we have helped with the waterfront project? I'm just curious.
Yes, we do, and right off the top of my head.
You can email it to me.
Yes, I'll email it to you because I can't right off the top of my head.
Partner with them, and I know people always having, issues with landlords and going to court and things like that, but I want to know how.
We've heard a lot of really great things. I've only been with the city since February, but I've heard a tremendous amount of great things with the waterfront project. So
right.
I know their numbers are high as it relates to the
I just want to know how many people we really servicing.
We'll get you those numbers.
Yeah.
We're grabbing that data.
You can email to the council.
Email to everybody. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Great rest of the week.
Raynor?
Good afternoon, Council President and council members. I have two resolutions in front of you. First being item number 10.29, resolution 22-573. It's a resolution providing local support for the cannabis place 420 to operate a retail cannabis business at 1542 Kennedy Boulevard. This item was pulled at the last caucus meeting because there was a question about the New Jersey residency. We have received an updated application, and there has been a New Jersey resident added to that application as the part owner.
Did the board vote it on adding that. Only reason why I want that public, because I know the residents will be concerned, because at first it wasn't presented with a New Jersey address, but now it is. So the board, the CCB board had to vote it to accept it, correct?
Actually, no, I believe there was a discussion with the board attorney that
Okay,
they would just accept the updated application because the presentation included everything else that would seem to be more important to the community.
okay. So then is it acceptable by law then? That's what I want clear, because I don't want us to, people to say it was not, by law. So if the attorney said it was okay, then I want it on the record that he said it was okay.
Yeah, if we need the council to provide a legal opinion to the council, to our council, before Thursday's meeting.
Yeah,
Okay,
just
sure.
tell them to
I'll
provide a
notify
letter
the
that it
attorney.
was okay. It's legal. That's what
Okay,
we need.
sure.
Okay.
So you saying initially there was no partners that lived in New Jersey, and then subsequently they went and found another partner, or did someone move? Like, how did that dynamic play out?
They added on a partner that was, I believe, may have been one of the, a person helping them with the application process. And he's been added on as a 5% partner to meet that requirement.
It says, based on my following of this, the law says they have at least to have 5% ownership to live in the state of New Jersey for 2 years. So last time when we pulled it, the person was just originally from a different state. That's why we pulled it. So they went back, and I guess they agreed with someone to have at least 5% ownership. And by law, the state of New Jersey allows that. That's why I want a letter from the lawyer stating that it's okay. We didn't make this decision. It was the law decision. That's why we want it. Because we'll get, people will think that it's really our decision.
I understand.
But it's
Sure.
the law that said it. That's why I want a statement. Okay? That's what happened. Feel more. That's what it is.
Any other questions?
So the law department can just tell us it's kosher or not. They'll just send that out and,
Sorry, Councilman, the board has their own counsel.
Correct.
So we're asking the board's counsel to provide a memo in writing to the municipal council that it's sufficient enough to proceed without a vote from their board.
Okay, thank you.
Second item on the agenda is item number 10.30. It's resolution 22574. It's a resolution providing local support for Oceanfront Holdings LLC to operate a Class 5 cannabis business at 141 Newark Avenue. This was also pulled at the last meeting. There was a request for the applicant to meet with Councilman Solomon, and I would have to defer to Councilman Solomon to confirm.
Yep, we had a meeting, all good. They're going to subsequent meeting with the neighborhood association and a couple other things, but I am happy to have it back on the agenda.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it. Drew?
Good afternoon, Council President, council members.
Good afternoon.
A couple of first readings and a couple second readings to discuss today. First item 3.2, Ordinance 22-081, expanding Zone 11 parking. If there's any questions on that one, it's.
I can't hear you.
Can't hear you, Drew. Bring it close.
Sorry, it's expanding Zone 11 parking onto the boulevard.
We had to do an amendment to Zone 11 because there were buildings on Kennedy Boulevard that are residential that have seniors and low mod income. The boulevard is not going to be 3 to 9 resident only, but what's going to happen is the residents who live on the boulevard will be allowed to apply for the permit so they can park. Correct, Drew?
Correct.
Great.
And we made the necessary changes to the ordinance this morning, so.
Yep, I saw that. Thank you.
Next one.
Next one is item 3.3, 22-083. Or I'm sorry. This is the reserve parking just your standard review of, doctors' notes and applications to provide reserved parking for residents. If there's any questions on that?
That's it. Thanks, Drew.
4.10, Jersey Avenue Bridge. This is the second reading of the ordinance to accept the bridge from the Turnpike. Part of the original memorandum of agreement with the Turnpike. So it's a formality basically at this point. If there's any questions on that?
What number?
It's item 4.10.
4.10. Ordinance 22-077.
Correct.
Thank you.
And last is item 4.11, an addition of multi-way stop designations. It's ordinance 22-078.
That's it.
All right, thank you.
Michael?
Afternoon, Council President, members of council. Mike Manzella, Director of Transportation Planning. Here to talk about one item tonight, resolution. It's agenda number 10.27, resolution 22-571. The New Jersey Department of Transportation has asked for a resolution of council, resolution of support for their Route 1 and 9T new road project. This project is part of the Portway corridor, which is related to the expansion of the Port Newark and Port Elizabeth, the additional truck traffic that would be moving through the region. One of the projects identified in that Portway corridor is to create a bypass road to Route 1 and 9, Connolly Avenue. Contract number 1 is already under construction. That's anticipated to be completed December of this year. The NJDOT is looking for a resolution of support from the council for contract number 2 and contract number 3, which are both in final design. Anticipated, they're going to be done in sequence. So contract number 2, anticipated to start construction next summer, 2023, with a construction duration of 46 months. And then contract number 3 construction will follow that with an anticipated duration of 41 months. As part of this project, it includes the vacation of a portion of West Side Avenue where it meets Van Kuren Avenue, and Van Kuren Avenue will also be, a portion of it will also be vacated, and both will become a dead-end street at that location in order to accommodate the bridge abutments that are necessary for the new road construction. Both will still provide access to the businesses that are currently located along them. Attached to the resolution, I provided all the supporting documentation for the project, including a presentation by NJDOT's consultants on the project and the impacts. So happy to answer any questions as best I can.
Questions? Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Lawrence?
Afternoon, Council President and members of council. My name is Florence Barron with Jersey City Economic Development Corp, Development Director. I'm here for Resolution 22567, authorizing the submission acceptance of an application to the New Jersey Urban Enterprise Zone Authority to pursue a 5-year strategic plan. Our last plan was approved in 2010. That was 1 year prior to the Christie administration defunding the program. Based on the new legislation that was approved, they revised, restored the program, and part of that was a multi-step process to pursue a new 5-year plan. And the first step is asking your approval to pursue that plan. I will be back again. The second step, I will be back again with the entity and their proposal with the dollar amount it will cost the UEZ program. That will go to the state for approval. Then when we have a draft strategic plan, I will be back before you again with that draft for approval to submit to the state for final approval, and we can implement our 5-year strategic plan. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer anything.
Any questions? Thank you, Florence.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
John, take it from the top.
So before we do that, I believe Assistant Director of Human Resources, James Carroll, is here for 10.25. I don't believe he signed up because he was in a meeting prior to coming here and didn't know he had to sign up.
Thank you, Sean. 1025 is the renewal for the contract, Jersey City Medical Center. It's the one-year option renewal that was submitted, I believe on April of 2020 was the last time the council approved it. This is the one-year renewal. We've had a lot of positive experience with the medical center. They do all of our background checks and health checks for applicants and employees, and the services so far have been up to par. So we recommend the renewal. Questions?
Questions? Thank you, Jim.
Great. Thank you.
Alrighty. Shall I take it from the top?
Yep, take it from the top.
Alrighty. Okay, so our first readings were touched on items 3.1 through 3.3, 3.4, City Ordinance 22-083 is an ordinance authorizing the execution of a lease of the Apple Tree House to the Museum of Jersey City History for a term of 5 years.
Any questions concerning this? Because this is new. Go ahead.
Should I just yell?
No.
Thanks, Council. So this is an initiative that the administration has taken on with the Apple Tree House and the historic community in Jersey City. The first year, we're initiating a funding amount of $100,000 to get them kickstarted for some of their historic initiatives that they're doing there. They'll be using the Apple Tree House as a monument and for the next 5 years. We thought it was important for that 5-year contract. So it extends into the next administration with the idea of continuation into the future. I know they work with Councilman Borgiano on some of the initiatives, and they do have an event coming up next month with the historic, I believe it's the Hague open house, and we'll look to see at least a quarterly event from them over the next 5 years.
John, thank you for getting this on. It should have been on a month ago, and
Let me ask you something, John. I know we're investing in at least $100,000 to get it up going. Okay, how will they maintain themselves? I know when I met with them, I asked this question because I know when it comes to a museum, you know, when you first, you know, put the funding up, but then there has to be a mechanism in place for them to continue to maintain their existence.
Sure. So they do have some galas and some fundraising opportunities that are coming ahead. And when we met with them originally for the $100,000 allocation, we asked that they make a commitment to at least match it in their proceeds. So we can get status increase quarterly as we issue funds, how much they've raised as well.
Correct. I would think so. Yeah. Anyone else? Go ahead.
Yeah, currently who is the leadership of the Jersey City Museum?
Who's the leadership, Rich? Do you know? For the
Who's
museum.
the leadership of the Jersey City Museum right now?
several different people involved.
Is the president?
I'll get you the president's name, Councilor.
Sure, yeah, the president and the board would be great.
Yeah, sure.
And then are they going to be able to access any of the collection that I believe Rutgers has now?
They've been working on that themselves as their own entity. Yep. So we can get an update on that, what they've been able to provide.
Got it. Okay, great.
I mean, we should preserve our history and to celebrate it, but can we also celebrate something other than Mayor Hague? I'm just like.
I think it's specific to the era. I don't think it's specific to his.
Okay, all right.
His reign, so to speak. So.
He's the kickoffer.
Mayor Hague may not have been the most favorite person, but you ask anybody years ago, if you needed a job or needed to be taken care of, he was there for you. And he took care of the poor people and the people that needed help. Otherwise, I wouldn't stick up for him for the other stuff.
Which was there.
He was there, Rich?
Can Councilman Boggiano be a permanent feature at the museum? They'll teach everyone as they go through.
But before.
We should allow Rich to do a history class there or something.
Right.
I think so.
History, Rich.
A question, so Will admission be free to the public?
Yes, the dollars that they're looking to fundraise would be through Gala.
Okay, so yeah, if we could
Yep.
get those numbers.
But
in there,
it'll be open house, so to speak, for the public access.
John, Martin Kears is running it. He's going to be the head, and there's been appointed several people who I just met the other day.
I'll confirm that, Council.
Thank you. Go ahead, Sean.
I don't know how to follow that one up. All right, item 3.5, which touched on earlier, on to our second reading ordinances. Item 4.1, City Ordinance 22-068, it's an ordinance of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City adopting the 174 Newark Avenue redevelopment plan. Item 4.2, City Ordinance 22-069 is an ordinance adopting amendments to the Tidewater Basin redevelopment plan to include the creation of inclusionary housing overlay district and to expand the list of permitted uses in historic buffer zone.
Hey, John, hold on, Sean. I want to see if we can, not table, but defer this till probably October meeting, just so we can have more meetings. I want to set up a meeting with Tanya and just to further discuss how this redevelopment is going to affect that area. I know some people had issues with regards to the projects. I mean, at some point it has to get developed. I know and I understand that. Just to make sure that the residents in the area questions, comments, and concerns are being addressed.
Well, I know the last time they were here, because the last meeting they did came in and expressed their concerns. At that time, I thought that, you know, Tanya and you guys had spoke, because this is the second reading. So you can reach out to Tanya to see what happened during that time, because when it comes to the second reading, it's like we have 2 weeks in between that we really do reach out and figure out, you know, what's going on. So I know there was a few of them that was here concerning this. And I know their concerns were addressed, I thought, with Tanya. I don't think they agree, but I just know the concerns were addressed. They're not going to agree because they believe that, you know, the inclusionary zoning was not in place back then, but it is now. And they feel like the building may be too big in where it's faced. But when it comes to planning, that's why they really have to speak to Tanya concerning that, you know, because plans change from 20 years to what it is now. And I think sometimes, you know, people have a right to have a concern, but we do have a obligation to get as much affordable housing as possible too. That's my, you know, because I mean, we need a place to live. I know anytime we come to that, there is always discrepancy because nobody wants their neighborhood to go a certain way. But if you want affordable housing, I mean, really, life is not easy and the decisions we make are not easy, but people need a place to live. That is certain. You know, so speak to Tanya.
Yep.
Talk about it. Go ahead, James.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I mean, I think when the folks came and spoke in the public hearing in August, they did express some concern.
Right.
And so even just a 2-week deferral, I don't think I would be supportive of, just to make sure that all those concerns are heard and no one feels like they're being, you know, not listened to.
Right.
I'm happy to work with Councilman Gilmore as well and talking to Tanya on that. But what I would say, and I'm committed to making sure we vote on this in something similar to what, that doesn't mean it doesn't change,
Right.
but something similar, because I think we all want the affordable units inclusionary zoning, but I think it's important to, you know, this is now in Ward F. Obviously, the border change happened. And I think it's, you know, as the ward council person, important that we have as much opportunity and time and input as possible.
So I'll suggest you speak to Tanya and then let me know by tomorrow exactly what's going on with this. And then we'll pretty much take it from there, because the affordable units is something that we do want. I tell you, we do want it. People need a place. I don't think everybody's going to agree, but we do need the affordable units. Could we come to some type of agreement? That's what we're trying to do. Okay, go ahead, Sean.
Okay, item 4.3, City Ordinance 22-070 is an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 10, impounding and booting vehicles of the Jersey City Code to allow for the impoundment of snowmobiles, all-terrain vehicles, dirt bikes operated on public streets. I know that there was an amendment we're going to look to do on this ordinance. And we actually put the amendment on the ordinance in red, Corporation Counsel, just for everybody to see it.
Yes.
And if you want to just do a little explaining on that.
Correct.
Sure. So the request that was made from the administration and was to, in conjunction with Councilperson Ridley, was to allow for the impoundment of these dirt bikes, ATVs, et cetera, that were being operated, but also that were abandoned or left unattended on city rights of way, sidewalks, alleys, et cetera. For the simple purpose that one, to get to where they are, they must have been operated to be there at some point. And number two, it's quite simple. That's easier to, apprehend, remove an item like that from the street if it is not moving or if it's not attended. So that is the change that's been made. That's not a substantial change due to the fact that it is merely modifying the operation to include the circumstantial evidence of the operation. The second issue was, I believe Councilperson Ridley had requested a 20-day waiver resolution, which we have prepared. The purpose of that obviously is we are now, it will be September 8th by the time we vote on this, by the time the council votes on this. And it's going to be later in the fall. It's warm out now. It won't be as warm out in 20 days. It's far more likely that people will be out riding in the next 3 weeks than they will anytime after that until the spring. So it can be justified on the basis of being emergent and the threat to public safety and the well-being of the residents of the city.
I don't understand why we even need this ordinance, because if you have an unregistered vehicle riding around, a motor vehicle riding around the streets, no license plate, no person riding with no helmet, you are allowed to impound it right now. This has been going on for months. I've been asking for it to be done for months. We don't need an ordinance. We already have the authority under city law. And in the years in the police department, people were, these vehicles were being impounded constantly.
Go ahead.
Well, Rich, unfortunately, today in the police department, they're not doing it. So if we want them to do it, we got to tell them to do it. And to their credit, in my opinion, the state law was a little confusing because DMV does say that these things need to be registered, but there was also a law saying that each municipality has to decide whether they're going to collect them or not. So the cops were kind of just sitting on their hands, but they weren't sure what to do. So we have to clarify it at this level so that they can move and they can make that decision because they want to be protected also. They don't want to get sued for doing something and doing it wrong.
Lease, this has gone only the last year or so. Of course, for the last 50 or 70 years, the police department has been impounding these vehicles.
Well, I agree with you. They should be taking them now, but they're not. So
we don't need
we're gonna make sure that they don't have a reason to say they can't.
The fact that you're not going to chase them or anything like that, or they do what they want.
She said that
Wild.
now you could get them if they're parked. So
Correct.
snatch them out when, we're coming for those dirt bikes.
I guess,
If you have a car that's on the street with no license plates, you can impound it. If you have a motorcycle or any vehicle with no license plate on it, you can impound it. It's
No,
already
Rich,
a
we
law.
agree
You don't
with
need
you.
no-
Yeah,
No,
we all agree with you, but
We
it's
all
not
agree.
happening.
We got to get the police department to start doing this and taking care of it because there's so many people complaining and it's got to stop.
We
I
agree.
guess,
So Sean and Council President will be uploading the 20-day waiver request
Okay.
resolution tomorrow. And
We agree, Rich. I think what the challenge is sometime, it depends on who's in office at the time when they read the law. And I see that more and more. One group can come in and have clarity. The next group can come in and read and say, we don't understand it. And so that's why we amend these laws to make sure we are clear on what we want done. And so we do want them to make sure they have the authority to impound if necessary, even though you've been a cop and you know that in the past you had the authority to do it. Evidently, we have a new breed that don't got the understanding, and so we want to make it clear. That's all this is. But we agree with you 100%.
I do have a question with regards to, so when these vehicles are parked in, I guess, alleyway, so they're allowed to go in the alleyway to confiscate them? And at what point does, I guess the alleyway becomes the backyard and,
Well, Peter, maybe you can clarify in my opinion, but maybe you want to just clarify alleyway. I don't think it means in the sense of what you're thinking, Councilman Gilmore, like the side of somebody's house. They can't go on people's personal property and confiscate.
No,
Alleyway in like a public alleyway street.
correct. If it's in someone's driveway, or I think like you were thinking perhaps like the kind of alleyways between row homes, that's not something that, or the sidewalks that go between the houses, that's not part of the public right of way. That's not the throughway. It would be the alleys that kind of bisect, the back entries to some houses. Simply the public right of way, so sidewalks, streets, et cetera.
This doesn't extend to the curtilage or to the, any front of the house, correct?
Yes, exactly, correct.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Go ahead, Siobhan.
Next, item 4.4, City Ordinance 22-071 is an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 242, Peace and Good Order to prohibit the use of bicycles, scooters, skateboards, and roller skates in pedestrian plazas.
Council President, Law Department Administration, I have a slight amendment, if I could request. I know we made the original amendment around kids on scooters, which is great. We've been very happy with the off-duty police presence in the SIDs, including on the pedestrian plaza. However, as police officers have been enforcing the no riding of vehicles, they've gone, I think, a step further and have started to enforce no walking of bikes. So like if you're off your bike and you're just walking your bike, they are telling people you can't do that. It depends on which officer is there. But I do think we want people to be able to walk a bicycle through the pedestrian plaza. At least I think we should be able to do that. And so I'm wondering if we'd be able to add a clause allowing saying you cannot ride your bicycle, but you can walk it. And if that would be a substantial or non-substantial change.
We can take a look. I know the language of the ordinance right now says shall not ride or operate.
Right.
Which that's some language that we inherited, I would say, previously. Yeah. And the word operate is not necessarily helpful in terms of interpreting. So we'll review that, council person. I will reach out to you tomorrow and see if there's what, if anything, we can do there.
Great.
To clarify that.
Thanks.
How about enforcing it throughout the rest of the city? I mean, only that one spot downtown gets permission when people ride on the sidewalks all over the place?
No, all this ordinance does is extend the definition that prohibits bike riding on sidewalks to include pedestrian plazas. It doesn't change the enforceability of, the police can stop, if adults are riding bikes on sidewalks anywhere in the city, they can be cited now.
What I'm saying is they put cops down there, but when you ask them in other sections of the city, oh, it's all about downtown. Come on.
Does the administration have any plans for a traffic enforcement division within the police department? Like, where are we on that? Because we desperately are begging and pleading for it.
Yeah, Councilman, we're in the middle of that. Just to address Councilman Borgiano's issue, we have deployed police presence in all the UEZ zones throughout the city. Different hours depending on when the UEZs require them. For example, Jackson Square needed them more overnight, where McKinley Square used them more off hours during work. So an exchange place is during the day. So we have been deploying them. Maybe you just don't see them all at the same time. And with regard to Pedestrian Plaza downtown, it was a new initiative. It had just opened. So we're looking to make sure we create the right culture as we begin. To your answer, we did discuss this in the budget hearings as we adopt the budget in the coming weeks. It's all funded that we would establish this, and we've been working with Director Shea on what that looks like, and we'll have a draft proposal to present to council within the next 2 to 3 months.
I haven't seen them enforcing any of those laws anywhere out of downtown, except for downtown.
I guess that's why we need the traffic division.
Sure. I mean, the rules that the councilman's citing are on the books. It's just a matter of enforcement.
Should.
Okay, item 4.5, which touched on earlier, Item 4.6 was touched on earlier. Item 4.7, City Ordinance 22-074 is a franchise ordinance granting permission to Harmony Foundation of New Jersey and its successors or assignments to make private improvements on a portion of the public right-of-way of Cole Street, 12th Street, Monmouth Street, and 13th Street adjacent to the property located at 227 Cole Street, 310 12th Street, also identified on the Jersey City tax maps as Block 7001, Lots 1 and 2. Next is item 4.8, City Ordinance 22-075 is a franchise ordinance granting permission to Ada Innes Hala Samuel for existing stairway and retaining wall encroachments onto the right-of-way at Lot 19, Block 2004, also known as 99 Columbia Avenue. Next, item 4.9, City Ordinance 22-076 is an ordinance authorizing the imposition of restrictions on Meadow Street located east of Duffield Avenue. And 4.10 and 11 were touched on earlier. We will have a special improvement district public hearing on the 2022-2023 Exchange Place Alliance Special Improvement District on their assessment roll and budget. We have a healthy list of speakers, I believe it's 65.
Is there any questions for the
Who's back speaking?
Exchange Place SID? Because I know they have a representative here, if y'all have any questions. Martin is here.
Martin, we reached out about meeting on Thursday, so just let us know if that works.
Come up, Martin, so we can see you. We're live, so come up.
Yes.
Hey, members of the council. Yes, Thursday should be good. I just have to get a time from Elizabeth. There was a bit of a clerical error with the budget that was posted.
We fixed it.
Okay, awesome. Any other questions?
Because this is the time to ask him questions on that SID. Is he going to, he can answer any question concerning the budget or whatever? Okay. Thank you, Martin.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, any questions or comments on petitions and communications, items 6.1 through 6.30? Hearing none, any questions or comments on office communications 7.1 through 7.8? Any questions or comments on report of directors 8.1 through 8.2? Okay, we have our meeting claims and on to our resolutions. Item 10.1, City Resolution 22-635 is a resolution to cancel 2020 and a portion of 2021 assessments due to a tax exemption pursuant to NJSA 54:4-3.3. Item 10.2, Resolution 22-636 is a resolution to cancel a portion of the 2021 real estate taxes on Block 4402, Lot 20, also known as 21 Manhattan Avenue, Jersey City, due to an erroneous assessment. Item 10.3, Resolution 22-637 is a resolution authorizing an accelerated tax sale.
Council, just a reminder for the existing members and Councilwoman DeGise, as a new member, accelerated tax sale is what we have annually at the end of the year. Basically what it does is compiles all the outstanding taxes that were due throughout the quarters, and they're sold at a premium at a sale. It helps with our budget to make sure that we have compliance with roughly 99% of sales completed. The 1% that we don't is usually foreclosures. So what will happen there is the bill will be paid off by a third-party vendor, and then the following first and second quarter of 2023, the property owner has the right to pay it off and pay their taxes, or the lien holder then can step in and continue payment.
So the first year, if it's not paid by the fourth quarter, it's sold to the third party.
Correct.
At the threshold of 18%. And then you have, when does the 18% kick in?
So it's 8 and 18, 8% interest on any amount less than 2,500, and then anything over 2,500 is 18%.
Again?
Whatever the amount is owed. So the first 2,500, it's 8%, and then anything exceeding that would be 18%. But it would be the difference, right? So if you owe 2,600, 2,500 is 8%, and then 100 is 18%. Correct. What happens is
End of the tax year.
correct. And then what happens when you're paying your fourth quarter, you have estimates for your first and second quarter. If they don't pay them timely on that due date, which is January, that third party then can pay for those as well at the same rate.
What, at the top of the quarter for the next quarter?
If they don't pay on time.
They don't pay on time.
So if the homeowner does come in and pay their bill, it's just whatever was outstanding to the third party. If they continue to be delinquent, it goes to the third party. Well, the option to go to the third party, they don't have to pick it up.
The homeowners still have time to make sure they pay it off.
Okay, item 10.4, Resolution 22-638 is a resolution honoring the life and legacy of Reverend Fernando Colon Jr. Item 10.5, Resolution 22-639 is a resolution accepting the assessment role of the Exchange Place Alliance Special Improvement District of the City of Jersey City. Item 10.6, Resolution 22-640 is a resolution adopting and ratifying the fiscal year 2023 budget of the Exchange Place Alliance Special Improvement District of the City of Jersey City. Items, go ahead.
And 5 and 6. As you know, Michael Young and I were very involved with the Polish people down with the statue. And there's been a lot of calls I've been getting. We're giving city land away to some of the people down there. The board, no one on their board lives in Jersey City, and they were doing work down there with no permits. So I think that all has to be explained, and maybe these two items should be pulled or held off until all these items are explained. And if everybody on their board is not from Jersey City, they're having an awful effect on a lot of the people that are concerned about that area. That area down there belongs to the people of Jersey City, not to them.
Do you want to say anything? Because some do, he's on the board. He lives
Say
in
all you
Jersey
want,
City.
but the fact is, they were working down there, they covered the statue, they had no permits, people were calling, the buildings department had to go down there. Nobody on their board lives here in Jersey City, including, so it's wrong. It's not being run by people from Jersey City.
I can take your concerns back to our executive director, Elizabeth Kane.
He lives here.
Yes.
I know, I know some of the board members do live there, but what if anything would happen if individuals are sitting on a board that doesn't reside?
I'm not sure. I can't answer directly. I can take any feedback and go back to our board and Elizabeth with any questions you might have.
I am working on it. Also, there's a lawsuit involving the whole issue down there. And everything should be held off until this lawsuit is settled.
This is their budget. They have to function down there. It's not just you come against one entity to try to hinder the rest, and you just really can't. I think if y'all got a gripe against one entity, you need to come after that one entity, but not everybody else that's down there that's doing what they're supposed to do. Now, if they building without no building permits, then our responsibility is to shut it down. Now, if they haven't shut it down, maybe they do have the permits. I mean, sometimes people say things, but we need the facts. And that's what's so important for us to make a decision off the facts, not what people just say to us. Because if they are operating down there, they don't have the permits that they should, then it's our responsibility as a city to shut it down. Our responsibility is just to vote on the budgets that they present. That's our responsibility. And we don't give the money for the budgets. The money is given from the other commercial properties that's down here. So that's why. That's the stand we take.
And our office has to notify every property
Correct.
owner that's affected by certified mail, which we have done, and we advertise the assessment roll and budget.
Correct.
28 days must elapse between introduction and
Correct.
adoption of the budget, just like our budget.
So I just think if they got a disagreement with a certain entity, they need to really handle that entity and don't try to, hinder the whole process with everybody else that is working down there and doing what they're supposed to do and giving the additional funds to make that area be what it should be like any other SID. So that's what they need to start attacking. Because we vote on plenty of SID budgets. We've been doing it for some years now. I think this is becoming personal, and that's who they should be attacking. That person personally. So come on. Go ahead, Sean.
Thanks so much.
Items 10.7 through 10.13 were touched on earlier. Item 10.14, Resolution 22-648 is a resolution authorizing the City of Jersey City to enter into identification agreements with various entities regarding the use of properties in connection with the Jersey City Art and Studio Tour. Items 10.15 through 10.23 were touched on earlier. Item 10.24, City Resolution 22-568 is a resolution ratifying the award of a contract to Periscope Holdings for providing online bidding services known as BidSync through the Purchasing Solutions Alliance Cooperative for the Department of Administration, Division of Purchasing. Item 10.25 was touched on earlier. Item 10.26, Resolution 22-570 is a resolution of the City of Jersey City consenting to the undertaking of certain capital projects by the Jersey City Municipal Utilities Authority.
Council President, members of the council, we're going to table this one for the next meeting, so I'll withdraw it at the meeting. Just got word from the MUA that they have to do some updates prior to the presentation.
Hope low out taxes.
Okay.
They've been pretty busy this week, so.
Okay. Item 10.27 was touched on earlier. Item 10.28, Resolution 22-572 is a resolution authorizing the extension of a contract to Environmental Systems Research Institute for consulting services and preparing data and deploying ARCGIS Urban. Item 10.29 and item 10.30 were touched on earlier. Item 10.31, Resolution 22-575 is a late item. It's a resolution declaring M&M Construction Company, Inc. in default on the contract awarded for project number 18-004.
Council President, this is a item that I'm asking for consideration on. The M&M Construction Company was the company that we engaged for roughly $5.5 million to build Engine 10, the new firehouse down the road here. We've met with the company. We've had ongoing negotiations and conversations with them. Unfortunately, we're going to have to default on the project, and we'll work with the surety company to either reconcile the build or we'll have to go out to bid again. This project's supposed to be completed by October of this year, and if you drive by, they don't even have a piling in the ground yet. Various reasons as to why. There were some environmental issues, there was some supply chain issues, but at the end of the day, we gave them a hard deadline. We met with them about 3 months ago, gave them a hard deadline on phase 1, what would have to be required for them to continue to proceed, and they're still 2 months behind on that section. So we've done our due diligence here. We've had the law department involved. And at this point, we're going to issue a default, a cease work order, and we'll proceed with the surety company on the next steps.
Sure. Yeah, and Corporation, can you just walk us through, so if we default on this, what's the process in terms of, getting a new company? Do you issue a new RFP? Do you expect this company to sue us? If you just sort of walk us through what the
we can never predict if they're going to sue, Councilman, but we've engaged them enough that we feel covered, and I'll have Peter add to that. But we've sent them notifications. We've met with them in person, and we've shown expectations, and it's solidified in the contract what the deliverable would be, what it would look like, and when it would be delivered. And they're nowhere near that They don't even have a retaining wall up yet on the premises, with an expectation of it being built out within the next 6 to 8 weeks. So the next step is that we would engage the surety company, which provides the insurance for the contract. Like I said, it's about $5 million contract, and we'll work with them on whether it be subcontracts or if they would wish for us to proceed with a rebid. If we did a rebid, it would look similar to the original bid package without the environmental, which was already done.
I can just add that, you know, whether there's going to be litigation or not, that is at the control of the contractor. Nevertheless, we have worked with the administration on this. We feel comfortable that we've proceeded in a way that is in the best interest of the city, both in defending any potential litigation and in recovering any lost funds and completing this project with a new contractor.
And I'd just like to add to the council that we did onboard a third-party architecture firm, Netta Architecture, who was actually our liaison between the city, building construction code and our own architecture firm with the company. And they provided all the bullet points for our default as a third-party professional expertise and advice.
And so M&M didn't give no reason why they were behind. Was it due to COVID? Was it because I know some businesses are?
Yeah, I mean, there was a list of concerns and reasons whenever there's a work product that's not delivered. Unfortunately, Council President, we're at a point where they're a year behind. And even at a year behind, when we met with them about 3 months ago, the deliverables that were expected by today, actually, that's why we're talking about here at this meeting, they're still about 6 to 8 weeks behind on that. So there's really just no end in sight on getting this built at this point.
So we probably will have to go out to bid again.
Or we work with the surety company and maybe they find ways to reconcile it with different subcontractors and stuff. It's a process. We just want to get it done now this way. Every day is a stalled day. So it may have to go to bid. If not, there may be a way to reconcile it through the insurance companies.
Because this is the firehouse, correct?
Correct.
So then you would have to have people who are skilled in building it. I know when we built that precinct, it was such a problem.
Well, I can promise you it won't be that company.
Okay, it was such a problem.
Yeah, no, that was a P3, which is a private partnership, which we didn't engage in this one. This was a public bid, and we did have several contractors that bid on it with expertise in the fire department. So we're confident that we will find an experienced builder. Unfortunately, it's just not going to be this one.
Okay. Questions?
Can I ask just for an update on the budget?
We were hoping to have it on for this meeting. We are just waiting to hear back from the state on some findings that they had. Nothing material, just back and forth paperwork. So I'll have our CFO, Jack Skura, confirm by the end of the week that it'll be on for the next meeting.
Yeah. Thank you. Questions? Sean?
And last but not least, as Peter alluded to before, we're going to be adding a 20-day waiver for Ordinance 22-070. That will also be a late item. It'll be item 10.32, Resolution 22-576.
That's correct. That's in the queue now.
All right. With that being said,
I'm sorry, Clerk and
Sure,
Council President. I'm sorry. Could I address the council very quickly on a matter? Just need a couple moments. This is with regard to the Cannabis Control Board and the application process. I want to take the opportunity here to provide some guidance on the community impact portion of the review and approval process for cannabis establishments. Part of the Cannabis Control Board review process requires that an applicant provide a community impact plan, which will show how an applicant intends to have a positive impact on their community. They also must provide a written description of their record of social responsibility, philanthropy, and ties to the host community, as well as a workforce development plan. The community impact plan in general should show how the applicant intends to address any issues that arise from the operation of their cannabis establishment. This could include traffic mitigation efforts, security and public safety, and neighborhood beautification, or anything else that would benefit the community in the general vicinity of the proposed establishment. With regard to philanthropy, it's very important that council members and other city officials not interact with applicants, charities, or other charities and other nonprofits, and recuse themselves from the application process or any vote on an application if such interactions may cause a conflict of interest in order to avoid a potential appearance of impropriety. The law department is working with the administration and the Cannabis Control Board to set a process for vetting and qualifying nonprofits to provide it to applicants prior to review by the Cannabis Control Board. In any event, the services provided by the nonprofits should be logically related to addressing the historic or ongoing impact of cannabis usage, distribution, and sale. The community impact plan, including the applicant's record of philanthropy and social responsibility, will then become part of the resolution presented to the council for final approval. No further agreements or memoranda of understanding will be included aside from those allowed by state and local law and regulations. The community impact plans will then be reviewed 12 months after initial application approval and every 12 months thereafter to ensure compliance with the agreed upon terms. As always, the law department stands by to answer any questions or to assist with relation to the application process.
Yeah, Peter, this should have been read to the city council 6 months ago.
I understand the concerns, and I figure it's better better late than.
That's right, better late than never.
Does the applicant?
Appreciate it, Peter, though. Go ahead.
Thank you for that. Does an applicant need to have MOUs with nonprofits, or can they create their own community impact plan? When they apply for a license.
The community impact plan is part of the application process. It can take any number of forms. There can be a donation process. There may not be a donation process. They may partner directly, provide workers, and may not be a case of funding necessarily. But they need to provide. It's a very detailed. I'm sure you've seen the applications. It needs to be a very detailed. And in 12 months, they're going to have to really show how they followed through, that talk is cheap really, and they need to have followed through on what they said they were going to do for the communities, because this is a big ask that they have from us.
That's why the MOU is important. That's the only way we know what they say too.
But it's not mandatory, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Not mandatory, but if we see it, something should be presented to us. There's no way we would know.
They're already operating, and then we find out that they're not upholding what they said they were going to uphold. What is our vehicle to do anything about it?
I would say there's kind of the two-tiered process of one, the Cannabis Control Board is going to get it in 12 months. They'll review it. Let's say they promised to do an expungement clinic and they failed to hold that. And the question becomes why? Then possibly their renewal gets disapproved. If there's something else that maybe the council is concerned about that the Cannabis Control Board thought was met their bounds, then the council, and its duly elected power, has the ability to say, we're not going to authorize this renewal. So, these entities will have to show over the next 12 months as they're operating and presumably generating income that they are going to be able to perform and do what they said they were going to do.
And basically, it should, based on what the state law says, it should really deal with some type of second chance program, some type of community give back that the people were affected by this law. And I know some of the applicants that we did see, they didn't have that, partner with certain communities, So going forward, this is what they're going to have to present, some type of partnership in that wise, because it was supposed to help those who was disenfranchised, to my understanding, even based on the state law.
Yes, and that
Because
was
I know we've seen applications that, like I said, had nothing to do with it. And that's why I asked certain questions.
No, and that was one of, if not the most targeted category.
Correct.
You said second chance, re-entry.
Yes.
Expungement, anything that's going to address historic disparate impacts of.
Correct. That's what, because that's what the state wanted, to make sure these communities would benefit.
That's correct.
I just want to make sure, because going forward, that's what, I know definitely I'm going to be looking at, because this was a state law. We just duplicated it pretty much. Now we have clarity on it. And the cannabis board really needs to make sure they look at those applications clearly. Only reason why I say that, because for one to get past them, to get to us, and the person doesn't live here, that let me know somebody wasn't doing their due diligence. Thank you, Peter, I appreciate it.
Okay. With that being said, nothing else. May I have a motion to adjourn at 5:52 PM?
Motion.
Motion made by Councilperson Saleh. May I have a second? Second by Councilperson Ridley. On the motion to adjourn at 5:52 PM, all council members present by acclamation, please say aye. We are out of here at 5:52 PM. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Everyone who is watching at home, hopefully we did well with our first live stream, and we'll be live streaming the council meetings as well. So stay safe, and remember, teamwork makes the dream work. Have a great night.
He's always worried. He's really funny.